Because I was walking around the valley, and because I spent the night at Will's house last night, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna walk around, just get some air, and I just noticed like all these like, because it's like, you know, in the suburbs they really like to do up Halloween, like, oh yeah, that's their version of flexing. Like they don't have rings and shit. They're like, let me show, like you know, like the little things you see at car dealerships.
Yeah.
They're like, we're gonna get the Jack Skeletor version of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
the Jack Skeletor. You combine Tim Burton and He-Man, and that's great. Really,
did I get it wrong?
It's Jack Skellington, and then Skeletor is the He-Man antagonist.
It cracked me up when black people get shit wrong.
But I mean, if you're gonna be
Jack Skeletor,
if you're gonna be black and get something wrong, Tim Burton and He-Man are pretty white. So
that happened one time. I was at a show, and like for some reason, like I made a reference to Downton Abbey, but I kept saying Downtown Abbey, and everybody just laughed like, this nigga call it Downtown Abbey.
Right. Downtown Abbey.
And I called Liam Neeson Liam Nelson. Like it's just
you got it wrong both times there, kid. It's Liam Neeson.
Well, niggas don't know who Cedric the Entertainer is, I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
No, but so Halloween, so like I see like all these like skeletons and shit and like babies. And it's like, isn't there something? And I'm not like, I wasn't raised Jehovah's Witness. Like I like candy and Halloween and taking advantage of seeing girls with their butt cheeks out and all that. But isn't there something kind of sick that we're just kind of cool with seeing like dead human remains?
It's really interesting because, I would say that like white suburbia really makes light of it, but then you kind of flip it over to Mexican culture with Day of the Dead, and there's like a very profound reverence despite a lot of that imagery existing. I mean, you know, we've talked about it before, but it just comes down to like white people don't take a lot seriously, and what else to laugh in the face of other than death, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, and I feel like with Day of the Dead, it's different. It's like we're gonna have food, get together, you know, talk about our grandma. You know, it's like this community, and they're just like, let's see if we can scare Tyler. Like,
exactly. We're just gonna freak people the fuck out.
Kai's gonna shit his pants when he sees this.
My favorite thing was the houses that would have like a sign. They'd just have the candy out and be like, please take one piece. It's like, we live in capitalist society here, honey. Like, it's early bird is getting the whole worm in those situations, you know? There's no socialism among kids with Snickers bars.
How do you feel about grown men that don't have kids or a girlfriend? Because sometimes the girlfriend can convince you to do some goofy shit. How do you feel about single grown men dressing up on Halloween?
Single grown men dressing up on Halloween. If you're not going to a party that is specifically a costume party, I would be like, come on, man. Like, just stay home and play PlayStation. Like, it's sad enough as it is.
I say that because me, Ralph, and Will, like, we go out and we'll be like the only niggas not dressed up on Halloween. And people are like, what are you guys supposed to be? And then like Ralph would just be like, I don't dress up. And I'll be like, yeah. And like by the time I'm drunk, I'll just be like, I'm a fake nigga because I'm a real nigga all year.
That's amazing.
And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
So what are you? And then they look at Will or some shit.
Not much to react to there. You know, if you're, like I said, if you're going with somebody to a costume thing or you're just going to a costume thing, so be it. But there's also no obligation to dress up. Yeah. If you don't want to, people shouldn't be giving you a hard time for not wanting to spend $30 on something you will literally never wear again. Who repeats Halloween costumes? They're like Jordans. Like you can't recycle too close to the vest, otherwise people are going to take notice. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got to space that shit out. That MC Hammer costume is once every 5 years, just like those 4s are once a month. Like
my homie Jason keep being like Black Jesus every year. Well, Jesus was black, so that's redundant. Actually, the nigga was Middle Eastern, but whatever. The nigga was DJ Khaled's cousin. Hey, let's calm down. He didn't look like Idris Elba. But he just be Jesus every year, and it's like, all right, man, you just kind of. I think you just want to wear a beard.
At
and
least switch to another person that was black, and people act like he wasn't. Like, be Babe Ruth one year. There's plenty to pick from in that department. You got Ruth.
Hand out chewing tobacco to people.
Hand out chewing tobacco and hot dogs. Oh, man. So you got Jesus, you got Babe Ruth, you got Santa Claus. Santa Claus as a Halloween costume is pretty funny. Black Santa for Halloween, that's pretty good. I respect that. Yeah, Black Jesus is played out. Black Jesus is played out for sure.
Let me introduce the pod. So this is the Let's Unpack That podcast. I'm your host, Lyall Behrens, live from downtown LA at the Podex's Studios. And we addressing the mad public. My attitude is fuck it because motherfuckers love it. And my guess is Matt Duckett because motherfuckers love it. By the way, yo, can we make that as a scratch? It's like addressing the mad public. My guess is Matt Duckett because motherfuckers love it. Like I like that as your drop. Like every time you come on.
Yeah, well, you know, funny enough, my freshman year of high school on the basketball team, my nickname was Suck It, Fuck It, Put It in the Bucket, Duckett. So it plays. I'm used to the when you learn quick to roll with the rhymes when your last name is Duckett. Because that's once people find out what the F word is, like it's just that for the rest of your life. Yeah, no, they will never let go. And I was like, yeah, suck it, fuck it, put in the bucket, Duckett's fine. Just put it on the back of my jersey, like world be free.
So I want to address this before we get into our show because see the homie at Will's house, Devanji, and Devanji's like, oh yeah, those are some pretty good shows I did with you and the white guy with the radio voice. And I'm like, I don't really have white guys on this show really ever. There's only been two. And then he's like, and the audience wasn't a fan of it. And then he was like, wait, oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. Like, no, he's just not white. And then, so Matt is black. He got a black daddy, a white mama, light-skinned black daddy, Irish mama. And I think people don't know that you're black because you don't like do the thing that certain light-skinned biracials do that did grow up in the suburbs or around white people where you don't like nigger it up. You know what I'm saying?
I'm very anti-Drake in my personality.
Please unpack that.
Well, it's exactly what you said. I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. I am a Derek Jeter kind of light skin.
Okay, but Drake, and maybe I'm getting a little defensive because I'm like a part of the Drake fan club. But I feel like Drake and like his music, oh nigga. But then like in interviews, he's like, and like working with Wayne, it was really different.
Right.
Like,
yeah, he falls back onto the grassy personality quote. I don't say I'm anti-Drake as in like I'm anti-Drake. I just mean that I do not assume the personality traits of a Drake like a half black dude. You know, like I said, I'm like Derek Jeter, and then I'm over here hanging out with Daryl Strawberry.
Am I Daryl Strawberry?
Yep. You're jumping into the bullpen and into the dugout and beating up some Orioles for throwing at Bernie Williams. I'm holding you back, but I secretly really want to let you go.
I'm laughing because we know I've done a version of this at shows.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But yes, hi, I'm black. I'm not showing you my 23andMe results. This has been established multiple times, but one more time. Hi, I am black. Let us proceed.
How do you? I just want to ask you one more question about this, and this has nothing to do with you.
Sure.
How do you feel about biracial or very fair-skinned black people? Because there are some very fair-skinned black people that have two black parents, but they're like, black parents.
Mm-hmm. They go on Finding Your Roots and find out.
Yeah. Like my mom, she had this friend. Not friend, she was a friend of a friend. Mm-hmm. And she had light-skinned lady with freckles. We already established how we feel about black people with freckles and how they can be, especially the women. And she would be like, let me tell you something, child, because you know how they do us. And she got naturally straight hair. And then she'd be like, just like, And then sometimes, and then my mom was like, she doesn't really speak like that. Yep. And then we're all these like black people, and we're just like, yes, hi, how are you doing? She's like, hi, how you doing? My name's Strawberry. They call me Strawberry. It's really Cheryl. And it's like, why do you you're from San Leandro. Why do you speak like that?
San Leandro. Yeah. So obviously I know folks that are like that. I like to call very light, bright, and damn near white folks who have a tendency to overplay their blackness, I like to call them pudding heads. And the reason for that is there's a Mark Twain novel called Puddinghead Wilson. And the plot of the story, the main plot of the story, spoilers for a book written in the 1800s, is that two kids are switched at birth. One is fully white, one is 1/64th black. And the person who switches them in literally in the crib is the 64th black kid's mom, who is a 32nd black, but all the dialogue is written as, "Oh Lord, it's showing up this hot in here. I need to go take care of Mass's kid." And that sort of despite the fact that she's a 32nd black, looks completely white according to the description of the character. So those are pudding heads to me.
Okay, I like that because I knew a pudding head. I met my first pudding head when I moved to the Bay Area from LA. Mm-hmm. And I was hooping at the Berkeley Y, which is just like nigga fest. Mm-hmm. And being in certain places where it's especially in certain open run gyms where it's niggas don't even want to play basketball. Hey nigga, foul nigga! And it's man, do you niggas want to play basketball or shuck and jive and pick cotton and gangbang, nigga? Which one is it? Yeah. So fake gangbang. We got respect for the Crips and the Bloods here, but.
We do. We do.
So we know where we at. You know, the real one, but not the fake niggas. But so, anyways, and it was this one light skinned kid. That's chubby, real light, and had the Albie short hair. And he was just going around because this is the time in the Bay Area where "Hey bud," and he would say "Hey nigga bud." And it almost did sound like some Mark Twain shit. There's nigga bud. And he would say that. I'm and now looking back, I'm that nigga was a pudding head.
Straight up, they're out there, man. There's a lot of pudding heads, and I try to avoid it as much as I can.
All right, so let's get straight into it. I don't want to spend too much time on what we think about it. Dave Chappelle, the closer. I don't want to spend too much time on it because one, I never wanted this to be. I like the idea of comedians and our friends sitting down and talking about shit that just isn't comedy. Because one of my least favorite things is when I'm at a comedy show and I'll see a comic. I was at a show in Brooklyn not too long ago. There's a comic on stage and everyone so I went to this small town and this happened. And then the person came up to me after the show and it's all your jokes are just about doing comedy and I don't want to do that and I don't want to nerd out on comedy because I'll leave that for the white boys. But the closer, enough people have asked us about it. Enough people did, it's all over. Yeah. I thought it would just be maybe a week and a half, 2 week conversation. Alec Baldwin killed somebody, and we're still talking about the closer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, what we thought about, and I'm also hesitant to just, because there's a thing where I don't really like the idea of talking shit about another comic's comedy when I'm still dropping albums and thinking about specials and pods and all that. Because for the same reason I don't like the idea of an active basketball player, active coach criticizing another player's game. I'm cool with them criticizing something they did in a game playing against them, but I don't like when they're yeah, he just hacks. Or he can't do,
Sure. There's a mutual respect that comes from being within the same profession.
Right. I guess that's what it is. Yeah, I have that much respect for it. So anyways, to get into it, what we thought about the closer as comics and then what we thought as audience members. And I want to clarify that because at the same time, it's kind of Trae Young's, Jaylen Brown, they still remember watching LeBron at home. It wasn't that long ago they were doing that, and it wasn't that long ago we were googly-eyed with our thumb up our ass looking at Chappelle Show and For What It's Worth and all that shit. Mm-hmm. So as a comic, what I thought was, I thought it was real redundant. I thought those are some of the better jokes he did about his trans takes. But I thought it was just at the same time, it's I don't want to hear you talk about the same thing for 90, 100 minutes or whatever it was. And I think he could have, I get what his point was, but I felt he could have expounded on it more, which we'll get into shortly after. But I'm the material is cool, but at the same time, it's I wanted to hear more as a comic. As an audience member, it's like I'm always gonna like something Chappelle has to say because it's the same way. Even if like I wasn't the biggest fan of Certified Lover Boy, but there's something on there I'm gonna like. But yeah, I mean, and that's that's pretty much where I stand. So as far as like, is it offensive? I'm not trans. I don't have a close relationship with anybody trans, so I don't get to say if it was offensive or not.
Sure, absolutely.
But yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
What about you as a comic, and then just as an audience member?
I mean, as a comic, so Dave Chappelle has obviously mastered being on stage talking. He's the most enveloping person since Carlin. And Carlin obviously got super heady when he realized that, like, oh, like, I'm like the master of this shit. He got very cerebral, but he still really made an attempt to A, do his research, and B, make, I guess, more potent punchlines. Like, sure, the jokes may have been better than what they were in the previous specials with this one, but there's still stuff that I've heard before. Yeah. And like you said, super redundant. I think that if you're going to go into the truth teller type of stand-up, you gotta be able to back up your theories beyond this is what I feel because people yelled at me on Twitter. So on that, I just thought on a thesis level that it failed. And that's the history major in me talking, but that's how I look at my stand-up. It's like, if I'm trying to make a point about something, I need to make sure that I back that shit up. And I just don't, I never got the, I don't have like super intimate or close relationships with people in the trans community, but the people that I do interact with that are at the very least part of like the LGBTQ spectrum are like, yeah, I mean, like, this shit is in a lot of ways, it's just wrong. So as like a comic, I'm just like, you didn't do your research. If you're going to if you're going to tackle something this monumental and this part, much of the cultural zeitgeist, you gotta do your research, and you gotta make sure that you know what you're talking about. As an audience member, it felt like watching, what's even the compare? It was like watching, honest to me, it was like watching Thunder Mellow. It was just like, yo, like, I know that you can be better than this. Yeah. And I want you to be better than this. And I remember you dicing fools up in the Western Conference Finals, but like, I just didn't think it was good. And, I'm happy to watch for what it's worth in Killing Them Softly still. And still, those are like, of the top 10, 2 of the top 10 specials of all time still.
I think when he did, the one I liked where he did one subject, the whole special, was the one he did in the Belly Room, where it was like the week the Me Too shit happened. And you felt like he just scribbled some thoughts down in his notebook, and then he just went up there and was like, Charlie Rose, who's next? Captain Kangaroo? And then he like really just went in, and it was like, I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, because it was done through the perspective of like, hey, watch Dave Chappelle just like kind of figure it out on stage for an hour, which is fair.
He knows about. He knows what it's like a man. Yeah. He knows what it's like in showbiz. Like, he's got a wife. Like, he's got a daughter. Like,
yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, but like having a trans person open for you on a show does not give you the knowledge of that community to speak on. You really only
met a few times.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, when, like you said, when Chappelle knows what he's talking about, he knows what he's talking about, and it's going to be great. So I hope he moves as a comic and an audience member. I just want him to do that.
So to the bigger idea, though, of what he is saying, because the thing at the barbershops, with the homies that don't do comedy, just black, they're like, I don't get what everybody's so upset about, especially the Hotep homies. The Hotep homies, like, they are trying to cancel the brother Dave for telling it like it is.
Yeah, Hoteps are just QAnon for Spike Lee fans. That's I am forever tired of the Hotep coming up to me and telling me my black purity has been compromised. I'm sorry that Christine's my mom, buddy. I'm sorry.
Dr. Umar actually like kind of dispelled that. Dr. Umar was like, there is no such thing as half black. The black gene is dominant. So,
The black gene is dominant, Dr. Umar. I don't know about that one, Chief. But yeah, I feel you.
But to the bigger idea, though, that Dave was saying that I do agree with, I think the way to your history major point, and like again, like his shit is in my DNA. So like, who the fuck am I? But since we're here, I think where Dave, I don't want to say fucked up, but what he could have done to expound on his point was, I don't think it's just the fact that it's easier for Caitlyn Jenner to change her gender than it is for Muhammad Ali to change his name, although that's like a great quote, is there's so many other things. For example, like white women and sex work. Before, calling it what it is, prostitution, hooking, stripping, just being like a big booty, waist snatched, big titty, curvy video vixen in George Bush's America, how that was looked at for black and Latino women. Then all of a sudden, educated white women like got a fucking webcam and take their top off and fuck around with a vibrator, but it's okay because they know about the Oxford comma and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's like, okay, now it's okay. We look at what do we call taco trucks before like everybody in America was really a foodie? We called them roach coaches. Then all of a sudden, like, white boys open food trucks and do Asian fusion and shit. Now it's like, no, food trucks is where the good shit is at.
Yep, and before you know it, Jon Favreau's making a movie about it, and you're just like, well, these are all going to cost $25 now.
Yeah, that was like when the Favreau Chef came out, that was like kind of when the food, like,
it's funny because
14.
Like, it's a form of cultural appropriation, right? Where you have white people coming into a space that minorities and marginalized groups have occupied for a long time, and making it where they're kind of the dominant presence within it, and also pricing people the fuck out of it who used to be in those industries. And so, yeah, there's absolutely something to be said about the common phrase, being an oppressed oppressor, I guess, in the case of white women, and even to the case of Chappelle in a special, where, you can be a person experiencing discrimination in this country, but you can also be intentional or not, pushing discrimination on other groups that you're not a part of. Yeah. And that's what a lot of these things are. And, there's a lot of situations where there are, I think it's very fair to say that there's marginalized, beyond their race, obviously, there's marginalized white people who are actively oppressing people within those groups that are not white with their actions. I don't think that there's anything wrong with saying that at all.
Yeah.
Intersectionality, that's the whole point of it, is like, hey, white people who are marginalized, stop fucking, remember, we're the black trans women are the most endangered out of all of us. Like, let's pick up the slack and make sure that we're representing for people beyond just that one identifier.
I feel there's this thing where, because obviously I do believe black trans lives do matter, but there's a thing that I feel, and tell me if you can tell me where this is coming from.
Okay.
Where when I see something like, in Oakland, there's like an aerial view. I think it's around Lake Merritt, like some fucking place. And it just says, Black Trans Lives Matter in big, bold letters. I agree with that sentiment, but there's a part of me that feels it's not coming from a black trans person. I feel there's a part of me, like, I don't know why when I see that, I feel like some fucking white lady or just some fucking annoying white dude that's like, dude, ladies, are you comfortable? Are these men bothering you? And like, no, they haven't talked to us at all. They're just standing over there. Okay, let me know if you need anything.
Yeah.
Like, I feel that it's coming from that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and that's the complication with all this stuff, is like, you want to be looking out for the most, I guess, endangered people that are in danger. But there really is a performative aspect to that.
Yeah.
And it's
soapboxing, what do you say?
Yeah, soapboxing. Yeah, there's a lot of soapboxing that goes on, and then
they're cooning on the soapbox.
Yeah, and then you have those people, a lot of the time, are the ones who are actively harming the people that they're soapboxing for. Yeah. It's not uncommon for someone to, I mean, How many times in the peak of the Me Too movement was there some James Franco dude pontificating on Twitter or social media or whatever, and then it comes out like, yeah, this dude was like trying to like hook up with 17-year-olds in the Harvard class that he was teaching,
Yeah.
So I think it's perfectly fair to look at certain people and iconography within these movements and be like, are you really about this shit? Like, I want to know the background. I want to know, like, how much are you putting in beyond graffitiing some shit on a wall? For me, it's like, personally, just occupying a space as like a half black dude is not enough. I need to be bringing other people in that don't make white people comfortable. There's an accessibility to me that I'm aware of, and so it's not enough. It's not enough for me to be like, Black Lives Matter, but I'm gonna be the only black dude at this company. I'm the face of this. It's like, no,
look other people for your holiday party, Matt.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I gotta get you that corporate gig money. But yeah, I think it's perfectly fair to be like, yo, like, y'all need to get off the soapbox and make an actual podium and let the people that are actually part of this shit talk.
So I feel that because I remember like when the Me Too shit happened, I seen a bunch of these pussy ass white boys, and like there's just like a certain type of white boy that's just like very like outwardly pro-feminist that I just want to smack the shit out of. And it's not that I'm not pro-feminist, because I am, like Chappelle said in the special, by the definition of feminist, I do consider myself that. But this type of nigga that's like how you said, like when it happened, I'd see these long posts from these bitch ass white boys, and it'd be like, here's the thing, I empathize, I sympathize. I too have been made uncomfortable by women, by gay men, and I too have made people feel uncomfortable. We're all in this together, bro. We've all been creepy. We've all been creeped out, man. It's fucking, and we just need to fucking heal, bro. And if any women feel uncomfortable, feel free to reach out. There should be a safe community. And it's like, I've seen you niggas say the most racist fucking shit. And now you want to act like you fucking like Bob Dylan, we are the world, nigga. Fuck you. Bitch ass nigga. Yeah. So that's like one. The other thing.
Yeah, Bob Dylan would just make a song about a river alluding to it. He wouldn't just go out and say it.
You know, I don't know my white culture well. So it's like somebody.
No, that was a good poll. That was a good poll.
So he saw it. So that's one. Then the other thing is, let me ask you about this. And I maybe should walk on some eggshells, but fuck it. This is a safe space for black masculinity, so I won't. So I noticed around the same time and the catcalling video. Mm-hmm. The viral catcalling video that came out in, I want to say, 2014.
Yeah, it was around then.
And the viral catcalling video, if you don't recall, this is pre-Me Too, and it's basically a curvy white woman, Italian broad or something in New York. And the video is basically a bunch of like black and Spanish dudes hollering at her. Like, hey, what's up, mommy? What's up, my orale, mommy? Damn, you look at them cakes and like whatever. Mm-hmm. And then this is what women go through. And then later the video got some feedback like, yo, like, y'all should have, where the white niggas at doing that? This is kind of making us look a certain way. You know, there's already this connotation towards black men being like these brute, rape, blah, blah. And around that same time, there's this culture of sex positive white women and just women especially white women. I've never seen it with black women. I've never seen it with Latinas, Middle Easterns, Asian women on the dating apps, but just white women self-identifying in their bio as sex positive, as kinky. While at the same time, I feel that there was this thing where it's like, okay, men expressing their natural sexuality in their culture and black men in like a certain type of way we communicate, frowned upon. Meanwhile, white women could pull their pussy out. Another example of that is during, as Illa brilliantly coined it, the Great Racial Awakening of 2020, where everybody read their thing and they had the memes and the little stats and was like, yeah, I guess I like black people. And then we had like 2 months where like, I guess I like Asians too. But there was like all the Black Lives Matter fundraiser shows on Zoom and stuff. Because like we still had COVID.
Sure.
And Black comic brought this up. And I'm not going to say who it was because it was said in a private setting. And I don't know if he would want it out there. But he basically said, I saw a white female comic doing a topless Zoom show and all the proceeds are going to Black Lives Matter. Imagine me pulling my dick out for these old Asian people getting beat up.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Shout out Quincy Johnson III. Nigga, why didn't you shout me out? There I did.
He could text him after and be like, hey, we can cut it or we cannot.
That nigga don't like me, but like...
Smooth. Yeah.
But still, it was a great film.
I mean, it ties back into what we were saying. That seems very performative.
It's performative, but beyond the fact that it's performative, it's this thing that I resent, because I feel like black men, we are outwardly with our sexuality. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like niggas just started like learning like subtlety. Mm-hmm. Sure. And not to say like because we're so fucking dumb that like we're just like subtlety escapes us, but just in the sense of we've been so community for so long, and there's just a certain way that blacks and Latinos communicate when mating. There's a certain kind of way, and then these white bitches decide, and men and women, being the white bitches, like start gentrifying these neighborhoods, and they're like, well, that makes me uncomfortable. Well, that's a little too aggro. Like, it took me 3 months until I learned what aggro was. I'm like, oh, you mean just like aggressive? Like, just say aggressive, bitch ass nigga. Like,
yeah, it's tough because, like, I guess I in a way I empathize with both sides of it. Like,
please tell us how you empathize with both sides, traitor. I'm just kidding.
Dr. Umar just fucking kicks down the door, comes in.
I'm going through an interracial divorce with a Jewish lady. All right, my shit is on 10 right now.
You're on DEFCON 1.
Def Jam.
Def Jam 1. I'm on an LL Cool J right now, man. I'm about to explode.
Where my sister's at.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get like not wanting to walk down the street and like be verbally harassed in ways. But yeah, there's also the side of like, well, people communicate in a different way, in a different culture. And, you know, I guess at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about having a dialogue and being open. But the way that it was gone about of just like, look at these pigs, look at these animals doing this thing. It's like,
it was some safari shit.
Yeah, exactly. It was exactly that. It wasn't like, this might be too harsh of a comparison, but it was like those like doing pranks in the hood videos where it was like, watch black people get mad at us for like pretending to fart in their face. And it's like, well, yeah, someone's going to get mad. And like, obviously like actively antagonizing somebody is different than just existing and walking down the street. But just the context of that video was just like, hey, look at all these like minority men
salivating over this woman in like a sundress or whatever.
Yeah, like, so it's about, and that's what the current conversations are, is like, yo, we're gonna like, obviously, yes, call shit out, but we gotta be smart and make sure that we're not like just like pinning it on an entire race of people. It's hard, man.
Let me say one more thing about the catcalling video, because that is something that just like, there's certain things I think for all of us, so we just kind of go back to, that just piss us off in our minds. Mm-hmm. Like the way before Kobe Bryant's body is on the ground, just that nigger was a rapist. Like, they didn't say it, but it was very inferred.
Oh, there were people who were saying it. There were a lot of people that I just like cut off ties with, where it's like, yo, it's like, I get it. Like, obviously, like, that wasn't the best scenario. Believe what you want about it, but it's like the man just died and his daughter. Like, and
you see what it means to so many black men, and then a few months later, you got George Floyd's civil rights nose hanging outside of your business or on your lawn. Yeah, and like,
yeah. Meanwhile, you're like giving middle fingers to the Kobe murals that are popping up. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like you can't have. It's like, and to understand culture and all that is, it can't just stop it. And it's not to say like, oh, we excuse rapists or certain things that, because I mean, niggas done canceled R. Kelly, but it's to say that like, okay, if you don't understand how the gray area with black men and white women in America, hence the catcalling video. And you don't understand like how there and Emmett Till and how there's all these different factors that play into it. If you don't understand that, fuck you then. Fuck you then.
Yeah, there needs to be an active attempt. There was no active attempt for any sort of dialogue or exchange about how to better society and how we interact with each other in that video. It was just a one-sided argument, and those are unproductive.
And the thing that pisses me off about that is like they got some like curvy Italian bitch to like walk around that just like they don't get no like skinny like Norwegian chick to walk down and be like hello or however they sound. Because they know niggas ain't looking at that. And the other thing about it is it's like, okay, you can do that video. And this shows how petty white people are, but black people ain't as petty because like we would have been took this shit over up by now. But it's like, what if there was like some video where it's like a black dude just going to like a bar somewhere and then having some hidden camera and just all the dumb shit white people say once they blood alcohol hits like 0.5.
Yeah, follow me around and have white women at UC Santa Barbara touching my hair like I'm a goat. Like a petting zoo. You know, it's these things happen to a lot of different people. And that, again, the whole point is intersectionality, understanding everybody's experience and creating a dialogue so that we all know how to move forward fucking together as opposed to just pinning shit on one group of people. It doesn't get anything done. That video did nothing but harm relationships between people. So yeah, it was on some bullshit for real. Definitely.
I noticed when that video came out, that's when I felt the tide shift in America. Mm-hmm. Where it's like you, at least in metropolitan coastal cities, you feel the tone of certain things. Like right now, performing, I feel that like people don't want any heavy shit right now because we just got through a pandemic. We just had the Great Racial Awakening. Mm-hmm. I feel like people just kind of want light shit. Like my impressions, my like light jokes, my like, and then we just be fucking. Like that shit hits hard. And when I try to do some more like heady racial stuff, which I'm glad I have like this platform for, but that people ain't really trying to hear like no heavy shit like that. Like unless it's just like really, really fucking funny. Mm-hmm. And I noticed like around that time, and this is like when then we start to get into Bernie Sanders, and then you're either Bernie, Hillary, or Donald Trump, and like we start to get into that space, and I was just like, oh, this is a different America that I've never performed in because I started in 2010, so like I performed under like a Barack Obama, Change, Hope, sort of like, and
we did it type of atmosphere.
And that, we did it. And it's like a nigga could say whatever I wanted to say. Mm-hmm. I was up on there saying no homo and bitches and like all types of shit that I wouldn't say now. And I'm gonna say that was my favorite America to perform in. And I understand what the Dave, like obviously there are some like just butthurt men that are just like, yeah, fuck these bitches no matter what, that are just always gonna be on that side of the spectrum, like the incels or incel light. But there's also this thing that I understand with comics just kind of blindly following a Dave, a Rogan, even if they don't 100% agree, a Bill Burr, a Louis, is the fact that it's like, yeah, we should be able to say whatever the fuck we want. Even if I don't fuck with what you're saying, that sentiment. Because Dave, when he got the Mark Twain Award, he was saying this thing, I'm in the comedy clubs, and I see some of these white guys, and they say some real racist shit. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's really racist, and I say, that motherfucker meant that, but he has the right to say that shit. And this is also coming from a guy that's been in comedy clubs since he was 13 years old. So I do think that is important for context, and that's different than us who've been in comedy clubs since we were like in our early 20s or late teens, or whatever for you. But so with that said, what was your favorite America to perform in? Because you started in 2013, 2014?
Yeah, 2013.
2013?
When I was in school.
So this is like year 2 in Obama's second term.
Yeah, this was like, we did it again. No, it was.
Yeah.
I think definitely still riding the high, and then right at the end of 2015, which I guess is when the primaries started for the next election, and people were like, "Oh shit, Trump is going to win the Republican nomination." Even even that span of like 2015 through up to the actual election itself was a different time than pre that and post election. Because everyone's like, this guy's like, Hillary's going to run away with it. And then obviously she didn't. I would say I had a really good time.
And not when you were your best, just when like it was fun. Because obviously you're at your best now.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun when I very first started in that second term Obama era. Because I think, I felt a lot of agency, and just part of that also was just because I was in college. And it's like, okay, well, college is where you just find out about yourself and stuff like that. I would say like late 2018, 2019 was probably my favorite time, just because there was the realization that like people stopped worrying so much about every little thing that was, I guess, happening, specifically with Trump, because that just dominated so much of like the cultural zeitgeist, and it just drove me nuts. It's like you couldn't do a show without there being 5 Donald Trump jokes. And at the end, and what happened was people were still telling those jokes, and people were tired of it. People were tired of Donald Trump jokes, and we didn't catch on. Once there was the establishment of comics who were like, okay, we're done talking about Trump, and the audience going, thank God, it was really fun. It was just fun because it was like, all right, let's just talk some shit. Let's just do material about, and let's listen to material that isn't about this one fucking guy all the time.
I agree with that.
I was having a ball through 2019. Just like
that was the best year of my life.
Yeah, people wanted personal shit. People were tired because it was all conversations.
It was like the news cycle with the ticker tape, and then you turn on ESPN, it's like, players kneeling, LeBron has an opinion. Where's LeBron with China? And it's it's in sports. Yeah. Then it's in movies, and then it's at the Oscars, and then it's at the Grammys.
Yeah. So people were just looking for something else to talk about. So if you were able to go up and just be like, yo, this church wanted my dad to be Randy Jackson at a talent show. It's like, people are like, thank you. Something that isn't what we've been listening to all day on the drive to and from work, on the TV in the lunchroom. If you were different, you were killing it. And I guess I was different enough to have a good time in that period. So yeah, I would say that like that middle late Trump era of
the middle passage.
The Amistad of comedy.
Right before the Kung Flu came in.
Yeah.
I fucking did it. I fucked up. Yep. You know who I was during that time.
Dread from it, run from it. Trump impressions still arrive. But late 2018 through like the start of 2020 was, I think, the most fun era for me to do stand-up.
As we close this out, I want to end on like a fun, light note. Can you give me some recent content that has come out? It could be music. It could be a podcast you've been listening to, another podcast you've been listening to. It could be a movie, TV show, a book. Is there anything that just came out recently that you're just fucking with right now?
That came out recently that I've been fucking with.
I'll give you time. So mine, there are 2 things for me that I've just really fucked with. Dom Kennedy has a new album out that sounds really, really fucking good, especially because I'm the type of person where like when I'm somewhere, I really like the music. I like to be in a certain place where the music makes sense. And like obviously Dom Kennedy is like a good artist, and he's gonna sound good like wherever you are. But from the West Side with Love 3, I believe it's called, just really good fucking music on it. Good album.
Sure.
It just sounds great right around downtown LA. You get one of those little bird or lime scooters and just rolling around, smoke a joint, get some tacos, post somewhere, see the sunset. Just, I fuck with it. And I'm also excited for the new season of Curb Your Enthusiasm and the final season of Insecure. Like that's
both definitely. Those are definitely 2 shows I'm looking forward to.
And then on my Uber, I just got on some new shit because I like having like a little bit of kind of like white adjacent music.
Sure.
And when I say white adjacent music, I mean like Red Hot Chili Peppers, some like kind of psychedelic rock, funk, reggae, jazz. It's this group called Ocean Alley from Australia. I had a Korean Uber driver, first generation, and he was playing it. I feel we can assume he was first generation. You know, like, you know, what was he? Third generation? I doubt it. But so anyway, so he's playing it, and I was vibing to it, and then like I'm just looking at the sunset, and I'm on my way headed here from the valley, and I'm just like, I fuck with this because it was raining yesterday, and it's beautiful out. So those are those are the three things I'm fucking with. What about you?
Sure. It's a little bit different, I guess, but it was the 20th anniversary of Pardon the Interruption this past week, and so they dropped just like a 40-minute special on ESPN of just like, here's how we got these two Washington Post writers to make the most important sports show of all time, and just like, you know, that was appointment viewing for me as a kid of just like, yep, get home, turn on the TiVo or the DVR. Yeah, that's right, I got DVR money. My dad did. But yeah, and just watch these two dudes just go at it with their opinions and stuff, and just watching kind of the story of it evolving was really fun for me. And just being like, it's like, oh, I remember when Tony Kornheiser said that he pretended to be Aaron Rodgers and said he wanted to poison Brett Favre. Like,
nice memory lane piece.
Yeah, nice memory lane piece. I haven't really dove that much into like new.
If you got nothing, it's all good. If you got nothing, it's all good.
So I'll leave it at the PTI special. I still got my Old Man Negro Jams playlist bumping right now on my Spotify. So we'll leave it at that.
This has been the Let's Unpack That podcast. I've been your host, Lyall Behrens. Special thank you to the Pod Exa Studios for having us. And my guest is Matt Duckett, because motherfuckers love it. We out.
Buckets.
Oh, yeah.
That was
feel good about that one?
We were on fire on that.